This is Electric Universe Geology Earth News. I have a new microphone. I hope it sounds better. Today we're going to talk about the Sierra Nevada batholith. It's a pluton, or a series of plutons that runs from northeastern California to southeastern California. It's about 400 miles long. I've been told by some geologists that it's the largest continuous unbroken pluton batholith in the world, although I haven't been able to find that in the literature that I've been locating. It's an unbroken piece of granite that runs from south of Mount Whitney, north of Reno and Sacramento. It's granite that supposedly bubbled up from below. Then the Pacific Ocean subducted beneath it, pushing sediment underneath of the granite, so the granite doesn't go down to where it came from. The granite has sediment under it. It's actually metasediment. It's metamorphic sediment. It's rock, but it's sedimentary rock. Supposedly, the bottom of the Pacific Ocean being pushed underneath of the Sierra Nevada over millions of years. That's a very uniformitarian model. Let me show you a diagram from a website that I'm going to have a link to underneath so you can see this for yourself. It'll be in the box just under the video. This shows the process. Here's east, here's west. We have the Pacific Plate moving east, or actually this might have been the Farallon Plate, which is no longer active. The geology is so complicated they have to have more than two plates pushing against each other. They have to have a third plate that then disappears. They have to invoke this to explain a lot of the geology in Nevada. But anyway, here's the bottom of the ocean being pushed underneath the pluton of granite that's bubbling up and makes a mountain. And then this moves this way over here, so you get a mountain here and a mountain there, and you get a mountain there and a mountain there. And then here's the magma coming up, but it doesn't go down to the source of the magma. It has sediment here. So I don't think it's bubbled up from below. I think it's external material from above that came down red hot and made granite mountains that look like all the other mountains with a windward and a leeward side. Let me show you what I'm referring to. Here we are in Northern California. Here's Nevada over here, is Reno and Sparks. Here's I-80 coming across. Here's Truckee. Here's Donner Pass. It's a great place for a barbecue. Anyway, I see these mountains as being produced by a wind from the west-northwest, sometimes from the northwest, creating what I call the water ski ramp to the west side, or northwest side, and a cliff to the south. And this continues all through the Sierra. Here's the cliff, here's the water ski ramp. What's interesting is they use the water ski ramp, the relatively smooth side, for skiing, because the cliff side is just too steep. You'd kill yourself. So you have all of these cliffs on the southeast side and all these nice smooth ramps on the northwest side. And it goes all the way down the Sierra, all the way down to Mount Whitney. Although when you get down to Mount Whitney, it starts to change a little bit. This is all part of the batholith. I've got pictures of this one right here. You can see here's the water ski ramp, windward, and here's the cliff on leeward. All of these formations have this all the way down to Mount Whitney, which is down around here, actually it's right around here, down by Lone Pine, which is here. Here is the cliff on this side. It's facing east. The wind seems to have been wrapping around as it came further south. So here it's coming in more from the east, making the leeward side much more easterly than it is up on the northern side. But here's the cliff, here's the water ski ramp. The water ski ramp runs all the way down to the Kern River, and then you get another cliff and you get another water ski ramp. Here's another cliff, water ski ramp, windward, leeward. It runs all the way through this entire area. And not only did this stuff have to bubble up from below, but after it did, it had to fold. And it had to fold in all these directions that I'm showing you, making the leeward side supposedly the side that lifted up, creating a cliff. I don't think that's the case. This looks just like sedimentary mountains, sandstone mountains. It looks just like the Dolomite Mountains. It looks like all the other mountains. There's a windward and a leeward side. And the explanations for all these different types of mountains are completely different. They shouldn't look anything like each other. I once asked a geologist, why do these different mountains with different explanations all look the same? And his response was classic. He said, that's what nature does, which is a pretty pat answer for any conceivable question. All you got to do is say that's what nature does, and you win. Although I think he lost. So now let me show you some pictures of what we've just been looking at on these maps. I guess it's best to start with a map to show you what it is that we're looking at. This next picture you're going to see, I and some friends are standing right around here. There's a bridge. This is Donner Pass Road. 80s to the north. It's the main highway. This is the old highway. This is where the Donner Party tried to get across and didn't make it in the 1800s. Anyway, in the picture you're about to see, I'm looking south, down here. This is a cliff. This is windward. This is leeward, I believe. The train comes along here with tunnels because of avalanches that used to fall down on them. And you can see layering in the granite. And if it bubbled up, I don't see why it would have layering similar to the layering you see in sedimentary type mountains. Sand dune type mountains where you see layers that build up on the windward side. So next is the photograph. Here's where the train from San Francisco to Chicago runs. They had to build these wooden sheds to keep the avalanches from crushing the trains. This is the western side. This is the eastern side. There's a cap rock up here that's very distinct. It's different than the rest of the mountain. And you have all these layers, all trending to the west. I don't see why that would be the case if it bubbled up from below and then folded. But if it came from the sky and built up layer after layer on the windward side, this is exactly what you'd get. Exactly. It's like perfect. This shows the layers even more clearly, all trending to the west. And all of the layers tend to trend this way with a few exceptions. Some of the formations down low seem to have been different, as if they were a different wind direction. And then the last ones, the high ones, the end of the process, everything seems to be from the west. Here we have Ben Davison suspiciously, easy for me to say, looking at the layers. And these actually trend in a different direction, but they're down much lower. This could have been earlier in the process. Wind different. Later the wind changes and builds on top of this formations that trend to the west. This trends a little bit to the northeast, so it's an anomaly. Here we have Convict Lake just south of Mammoth Lakes. Some convicts escaped, I think from Reno, and they captured them here and hung them. Hence Convict Lake. But this is the southwest facing side. This is the cliff. This is leeward. On the other side it's nice and smooth. So this is just one more example. All of these are what happens when you have a welded tuff process. You get formations that look just like this. I'm about to show you a couple more. This is just west of Lone Pine. This is Alabama Hills. They're really bizarre, molten, funky, bubbled hunks of granite that they use for all kinds of movies. Westerns, Humphrey Bogart, everything. And then here are the Sierras. Here are the formations that remind me so much of welded tuff, of true welded tuff that is supposedly from volcanoes, according to geologists. And back here is Mount Whitney. These again remind me of welded tuff. They're like cousins. And it shouldn't look anything at all like it. If it bubbled up from below and folded, they've got nothing in common. Here we have Mount Whitney. This is leeward. This is the cliff. I wouldn't try to ski down this. but you can ski down the backside real easy. It's like a water ski ramp. It's all so consistent all through the Sierras, all around the world, as if the material rained down from the sky. Let's take a look at some welded tuff. This is geologist approved welded tuff. The wind supposedly was coming towards the camera. This is leeward. These remind me of Whitney. It seems as if the current density goes up and down, where you get a formation like this, and then for a while it might not be as gnarly rock. It might be more erosion prone layer behind it, and then you get hotter. And I think that's what makes the patterns on Mount Whitney and the eastern slope of the Sierra, is these types of formations forming, and then you get a little bit of dirt behind it, and that dirt erodes, and it gives you those effects that you see in the Sierra. Here's another formation on Highway 50 just west of South Lake Tahoe. Again, it trends to the west, just like most of the others. I don't see why bubbling basalt or bubbling granite from below would make something like this. But if the wind is from the left blowing towards the right, you'd get layer after layer with gaps in between where the current density changes. Or at least that's the way I read that sort of thing. So in conclusion, here we have Mount Whitney. Here we have leeward to the east, windward to the west, water ski ramp. It's not that steep. It's doable. Another cliff, another water ski ramp, another water ski ramp. And then this whole thing is a water ski ramp that runs all the way down to the river, and then you get another cliff because the wind was from the west, and here's another water ski ramp. It continues over and over. I don't see why bubbling granite from below would produce what dolomite does on the tops of the Alps and the tops of the mountains west of Vegas. You can throw away the bottom of the ocean dolomite crap. It doesn't work unless it's full of urine and boiling oceans, which is problematic at best. So the Sierras are pretty cool. It was a nice day there today. We were very, very fortunate. We had great weather. Life is good. Thank you.